In the recent chapters of Lookism, several arcs ended and many conclusions were reached. With the alleged death of Charles Choi and Gun seemingly out of the picture, this begs the question, what's next for Lookism? If you've been following the recent chapters, you'll know that things have reached to a boiling point. Charles Choi's alleged death, Gun being imprisoned, and Gu seemingly going silent have left a massive power vacuum, and it feels like the end of an era but also the start of something much bigger. Today we're going to be exploring theories about the future of Lookism, including the mysterious Jinrang, and what this means for Daniel and his friends. So grab a snack and let's get into it. To understand what's next, we need to look at where we are right now. Let's break it down. Charles Choi, the mastermind behind many events in Lookism, is seemingly gone. His death marks the collapse of the H&H group, which has controlled so much of the story's conflict. But is he really dead? Lookism has a knack for twists, and we can't really rule out the possibility that Charles is alive and biding his time. Gun, one of the most feared characters in the series, has been taken out of the game for now. While he's in prison, it doesn't mean he's powerless. In fact, it's entirely possible that Gun will find a way to turn this situation into his favor. Could he align himself with Daniel or even the first generation kings in the future? It's something to think about. Gu's whereabouts? Gu, the wildcard of the series, has been suspiciously absent. We know Gu isn't the type to sit idle, so whatever he's planning is bound to shake things up. Is he planning to take revenge, build a new crew, or maybe, just maybe, he'll side with Daniel? With these major players temporarily sidelined, it leaves the door wide open for new conflicts and characters to step up into the spotlight. One name that's been on everyone's mind lately is Jinrang. His introduction couldn't have come at a better time. Let's talk about why he's the next big antagonist. Jinrang is clearly someone with big plans. He's a part of the massive organization and seems perfectly positioned to take advantage of the current power vacuum. Without Charles Choi and his crew standing in his way, Jinrang has the freedom to act. We've also been introduced to a second in command. Though we don't know much about them yet, this character could be someone we've seen before, or maybe they're an entirely new player. Either way, their presence adds another layer of intrigue to Jinrang's faction. Jinrang's potential as a central figure ties directly into the first generation kings, who we'll get to in a moment. But before that, let's talk about the current state of the Lookism universe post H&H group. With the four major crews no longer in control, the H&H group is in shambles. Currently, Korea is essentially up for grabs. This power vacuum is going to be a driving force for the next arcs. For the longest time, the first generation kings have been in the background. These are the OGs of Korea's underground scene, fighters and leaders who were at their peak before the new generation took over. Up until now, they've been forced into silence, unable to act because of James Lee and Charles Choi and the four major crews. But now the stage is set for their return. The question is, how will they approach the current situation? Let's talk about the kings individually and where they might stand in the coming conflicts. Taesu's main goal has always been to protect An-san and defeat James Lee. With James out of the picture, Taesu might see no reason to get involved with the new power struggle. That said, if Jinrang plans to threaten An-san or bring chaos to his territory, he could definitely step back into the fray. As for Gongseop is all about money. While taking over Korea, he might be lucrative, it doesn't seem to be his style to run an empire or take responsibility for leadership. He's more likely a neutral party, making deals with whoever offers him the biggest payout. As for Jaegyeon is a wild card here. Unlike Taesu and Gongseop, Jaegyeon feels like he still has something to prove here. His past interactions are unresolved, suggest that he could play a significant role in the upcoming arcs, either as an ally or an antagonist. But what about Gu? We can't forget about Gu. His unpredictable nature makes him one of the most exciting characters to theorize about. Here are a few possibilities for his role moving forward. As he is a wild card, Gu could return as a chaotic force, disrupting the plans on both sides. He could either make a new alliance where Gu could finally team up with Daniel. If Gun is out of the picture, Gu might see the potential in Daniel as a rising leader. His solo ambitions could also come into play. Gu might be planning something entirely unrelated, setting up his own crew or aiming for a personal goal. Now, let's talk about Daniel's role in the future. Let's talk about Daniel. With Charles Choi gone, the future of Allied is uncertain. Will it disband or will Daniel take over as leader? Something I'd like to add is the mystery of his body swapping ability. One possibility is that Daniel shifts his focus back into his personal journey. The origin of his body swapping ability remains one of the biggest mysteries in the series. Exploring this could tie into larger conflicts, especially if Jinrang's organization has ties to Daniel's past. As for his leadership potential, alternatively, Daniel could step up to fill the leadership void left by Charles Choi. This would be a major turning point for this series and for his character, transforming him from a reluctant fighter into a true leader. But the final thoughts and predictions, to wrap it all up, the future of Lookism is full of possibilities. The first gen King Jinrang and Gu are all potential power players in the upcoming arcs. For Daniel and his friends, this is a turning point, one that can define their roles into the story moving forward. So what do you think? Are the first generation kings gonna take the center stage? Will Jinrang rise to become the next big antagonist? And how will Daniel navigate this new era of chaos? Comment your thoughts down below, and so yeah.